Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics. I'm Nistula Hepar, your host for this show, a show where we go behind the headlines to look at the stories making the news in domestic politics. Now, this week, the budget session of Parliament ended with the fiery passage of the Waqf Amendment Bill through both houses of Parliament. The BJP-led government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi appeared bolstered because its NDA allies who have electoral calculations which would stop them in their tracks from coming out in open support of the Waqf Amendment Bill did not have an effect. They did come out, and both the JDU in Bihar and the Telugu Desam Party from Andhra, important allies of the government, came out in open support, issued whips in support of the Waqf Amendment Bill. Now, this is an important sort of development, and I will be speaking of this, of course, but in connection with the actual topic of this episode, which is the BJP's own preparations for the upcoming assembly polls in Bihar. And this was flagged off by Union Home Minister Amit Shah when he visited Bihar the last weekend. The year after the general election, with the additional assembly polls of Haryana, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, is set to be relatively peaceful, with just two assembly polls, Delhi, which just concluded, and Bihar to be held later in the year, which have been scheduled. But this doesn't mean that preparations are ever low-key for the parties involved. Thus it was that in the midst of the Parliament session on a weekend visit, Home Minister Amit Shah held a public meeting in Gopalganj and a series of internal party meetings and with NDA allies to bolster his party's preparations. Now, what happened at these meetings? Mr. Shah, he met with his NDA allies of the state, the LJP, that is Lok Janshakti Party, headed by Union Minister Chirag Paswan, the Hindustan Awam Morcha, HAM, again headed by Union Minister Jitan Ram Majhi, former Chief Minister of Bihar, and the Rashtriya Lok Samata Party headed by Upendra Kushwaha. He addressed a public meeting in Gopalganj where he said that the NDA would take forward the legacy of development of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, hinting that the NDA would go into polls with Nitish Kumar as the face and explicitly stating it. He shared the dais with Chief Minister Nitish Kumar at a function in Patna where projects worth rupees 800 crores was launched, and where Mr. Kumar, having changed sides too often, declared that he would never again leave the NDA. So all of this happened in terms of the public forums. In the NDA meeting, which happened behind the scenes, it was stressed that a united front be presented and that seat sharing be concluded with the least amount of acrimony. Currently, the two big allies, BJP and JDU, have 84 and 45 seats respectively in the 243-member Bihar Assembly. The open support of the LJP and the JDU to the Waqf Amendment Bill, despite claiming support from some sections of the minority Muslim community in the state electorally, demonstrates, therefore, two things in this context. Number one, that the allies have very few options other than following the lead of the BJP because of vastly differing political strengths. So basically, the differential politics that one would see between the BJP and its allies through the Vajpayee years, where BJP also suspended the three core issues that it had: construction of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya, abrogation of Article 370 and a uniform civil code, in deference to its NDA partners, Nitish Kumar, who gets Muslim votes, LJP, which gets Muslim votes in Bihar, and Nitish Kumar being the progenitor of the Pasmanda politics of backward Muslims, differentiating in that community itself. All of that has been now put to one side, and it seems as though they have kind of just embedded themselves with the BJP's politics and ideology. And the second point in all of this, in this context, is that the allies have realized that from the 2020 polls that the minorities are in any case consolidating in huge numbers behind the RJD's alliance with the Congress and the CPI-ML, and therefore The polarization route is actually the one that they need to take. They can't do anything other than that. That is the electoral way forward for them. Now, for me, the more interesting of the meetings that Home Minister Amit Shah took was the internal party meeting of the state BJP with the state office bearers and a few other important people. Now, this is a meeting that demonstrated not just the lessons that Mr. Shah said emanated from the Madhya Pradesh polls of 2023 and also Maharashtra of 2024, but overall it showed the political method behind the electoral planning that Mr. Amit Shah is also known for. Now, according to those in the know, Mr. Shah said that both he and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting the state at least once a month in the run-up to the polls. What it does is it makes the organization more cohesive and more organized in terms of just having people for every task that is required in terms of even running an election. So the moment you know that the Prime Minister is coming, everybody is on their top game. He will also be naming people to head various task forces required for organizational planning thereafter. Mr. Shah asked BJP leaders to ensure that there be no discrimination between on any seat being fought by a BJP candidate or an LJP candidate, JDO, HAM, whoever is the BJP's ally on that seat. So all 243 seats will have BJP's heft and muscle deployed to help in terms of polling booths and everything, campaign, etc., etc. Most significantly, he laid out a couple of statistics from the Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra assembly polls. He said that in Madhya Pradesh, booth workers of the BJP ensured that 13% of the booths where the BJP had never won before saw the BJP winning, and that this number had gone up to 21% in Maharashtra. Now, these are places where the BJP had not won, so it was a huge addition to the tally. And in both states, if we see in Madhya Pradesh and in Maharashtra, BJP posted handsome, unprecedented victories in those assembly polls. So he said that this is a micro strategy that he believes in. It's tried and tested. And he says, I advocate this for Bihar. The party organization is in decent shape. Go to it. Now, in terms of the narrative, the RJD-led government of the past under former Chief Ministers Lalu Prasad Yadav and his wife Rabri Devi, it's termed as a jungle Raj by the BJP and the NDA in its narrative. That is, of course, going to be part of the campaign. Polarization around the Waqf issue is also being pushed as of now, and within that, there are going to be attempts to also win support from Pasmanda Muslims to tell them that, look, we brought this bill because we were afraid that there's a lot of corruption, there was no transparency in the Waqf board, and this was basically harming the rights of poor Muslims, widowed women, divorced Muslim women who are destitute. And this is also going to be attempted, but very significantly a promise of a flood-free Bihar within 5 years. And that's also going to be pushed in Bihar, which is a flood-prone state. Now, the big question, especially with regard to Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's visibly frail health, has been about leadership and the face of the NDA's campaign in the state. As stated by me in a previous episode on Bihar of the Talking Politics, the face of the campaign will remain Nitish Kumar. But whether or not he continues to be Chief Minister if the NDA wins is still a question mark. So this is still up in the air. Mr. Kumar's longevity in the Chief Minister's chair, whichever coalition he goes to, whether the Mahagathbandhan or the NDA, and despite the fact that his Kurmi caste base is very limited, is down to the fact that he is acceptable across a vast swath of the state. There is, what somebody explained to me was, there is no social disharmony that accrues from his image, which may do so from, say, a polarizing figure like Lalu Prasad Yadav or from somebody from the BJP's own stable. BJP, which has struggled to engage with the caste arithmetic of Bihar in the past, as evidenced by the 2015 elections, understands this. and is therefore always keen to have him on their side. Every time that he goes away, there is always an effort to get him back to the NDA, and they understand that he is important in that sense. Sushasan Babu and all of the things that accrue to his image. He has also managed to keep minority communities neutral towards him. So therefore, Nitish remains a very strong face despite his obvious frailty in health. So the battle seems to be joined for Bihar, with the BJP being first off the block in terms of organizational consolidation and strategy. The RSS, which has always been an X factor in the BJP's electoral contests, has not quite stepped in the same way as it did in Maharashtra, Haryana, and Delhi, sources have told me. So they've said that the chemistry between the RSS and the BJP is not the same in Bihar as it is, especially in Maharashtra, then in Haryana, and of course Delhi. And the results here may require, of course, the desire for a big good result may, of course, lead to the RSS stepping in later. But as of now, that has not happened. So, of course, whether or not this meticulous planning can be pulled off and who replaces Nitish in case of an NDA victory are still things which are up in the air. Now, at this point, as I sign off on this episode, all I can say is watch this space. This was just an attempt to kind of bring you up to speed on what is going to happen in Bihar, one of India's most politically significant states, where lots of important and new ideas about the political discourse, which later goes on for the entire country, actually starts off. So do stay with me for further episodes. I will be back to Bihar, but for this week, this is all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching.